Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle here to bring back one of my favorite segments from last offseason, Mock My Mock. That is right. I reached out to our MVP supporters and said, hey, who of you would be interested in submitting to me your first round mock draft from the 2022 NFL Draft coming up? And let me possibly make fun of it a little bit and give you a grade. And I got a few responses back, but I picked 3 of them to go into this video because I didn't want to make it too super long. So I stuck with 3 so we could go through and I could show y'all, maybe what some people at Headliner Nation are thinking, what I'm thinking, breaking it down a little bit and just having some fun. Now, no mock draft is perfect, right? But there is one way that you can be perfect this offseason, and it's by heading over to manscaped.com, using code word headliners at checkout for 20% off and free shipping, and that will get you the perfect package this year. That's right, manscaped.com, teaming up with them again here in 2022 is one of our primary sponsors, so you can head over to their website, 20% off all of their great products, including the perfect package. Order that now, get some free shipping, and get yourself ready for the summer weather. Hopefully that's going to be coming a lot quicker than it is around here. It snowed yesterday. I cried for a few minutes. Anyway, 2022 NFL Draft. It's coming up. Very, very close. Going to be down in North Carolina with Jake and the gang. We're going to be live streaming the draft from Headliners HQ together, and it's going to be a heck of a time. So make sure that you catch that right here on the channel. But as we talk about and we break down all of these players, remember that here on the Fantasy Headliners, we really take kind of a broad overview approach to the 2022 NFL Draft and talk about a lot of the players. But if you're looking for a detailed breakdown, you just got to head on over to our other YouTube channel, Headliner U. Check out all the scouting reports that we're doing there and make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you can keep getting all the up-to-date information on all the guys coming out of the draft. So the first mock draft that we're going to be taking a look at is from my boy TJ. A couple of things that hit me kind of right off the bat when I'm going through and I'm looking at everything. So let's talk about kind of this left side, the top half of the draft and what we're looking at here. Aiden Hutchinson, got it. Malik Willis, I think it could end up happening to Detroit. Kyle Hamilton at number 3 to Houston, I agree with. I applaud TJ for putting Kyle Hamilton here, but I don't think it happens. And if you are a member, we talked about this on our members only live stream that we do every Sunday night. We talked for quite a while about the argument of positional value in the drafts and why people will skip out on certain positions. We really talked about it with Tyler Linderbaum a little bit, but I brought up Kyle Hamilton's name as well because it's really the same thing with Kyle Hamilton. People are saying that he's not a top 10 pick because he's a safety, and safeties aren't going to bring you the positional value that some of these other people will. So for me, when I look at this, I get it. I love Kyle Hamilton, but I just don't think it's going to end up happening. We got Thibodeau at 4, Evan Neal falling to the Giants at 5. That would be a big win for the Giants. Sam Howell going to Carolina at number 6. This one I do disagree with because if Ikem Ekwonu were to fall all the way down to number 9 at Seattle, then if he were to fall down to number 6 with Carolina would draft him. I don't think Carolina would go with Sam Howell over Ikem Ekwonu, knowing that one of the top 2 tackles in the league was still available at the position. So I don't think that would end up happening at all. The New York Giants, they get their tackle, then they get their edge. Trayvon Walker, love that. Sauce Gardner going to the Atlanta Falcons. Understand this one as well, but I think part of the thing that Atlanta's looking at is they have no wide receivers, right? I know a lot of you Atlanta fans out there would rather have Sauce Gardner at number 8, but you have no wide receivers. You don't have the weapons needed to even make an impact this year. For me personally, it's all about getting one of these top wide receivers this year, potentially getting another guy. And yeah, you're going to say, but there's going to be guys later on. You need help. Because even though Calvin Ridley is going to be gone all year and then he comes back next year, and when he gets back next year, there's no telling what could happen. They could move on from him next year, and then you've really got no offensive talent outside of Kyle Pitts, which is basically what you have now. So for me, it's just a little bit more important to see them get a wide receiver. So then you have a guy that can either, continue to grow with the current quarterback situation, or if they end up getting a quarterback next year, then that quarterback already has a solidified weapon that can really help him out right away. Ekwonu falling 9 here. I mean, if he's available here, I absolutely get it. But this is kind of where I have the first cornerback coming off the board. Garrett Wilson to the New York Jets. Now, TJ, you're a Jets fan, and I think this might be a little homer bias. I think it might be a little homer bias because this is where the argument of, hey, this position is really, really deep, that I say I don't know if they really need to have a wide receiver here, because I think if they really work on that defense and maybe help that offensive line a little bit for Zach Wilson, then you can take a wide receiver a little bit later on in the draft. This feels a little bit like, TJ, you love yourself some Garrett Wilson and you would like to add him here. Drake London to Washington, I get that. I understand where that's coming from. Derek Stingley going to Minnesota. Charles Cross going to the Houston Texans. I mean, if the Houston Texans do go with like a Kyle Hamilton or a Thibodeau or Hutchinson or whatever happens up here, to get Charles Cross all the way down here makes a lot more sense. I do have Penning over Cross, but it's not that big of a deal. Jordan Davis going to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I really think that Jordan Davis would not go to Baltimore. That if they don't end up spending a pick on Linderbaum, that they would end up going with a cornerback position instead. Jermaine Johnson going to Philadelphia there. And then the Kenny Pickett pick here at number 16 for the New Orleans Saints. Now, I think that the only way Nolans ends up going with a quarterback is if they package their 2 first-rounders to move up somewhere up here and then grab one of the top cornerbacks. And I think they'll be keeping an eye on like Malik Willis if he drops. Kenny Pickett to me going at number 16, I don't think that's great. Or if they move back and try to get him a little bit later, but I don't like them drafting a quarterback here. If they try to move up and grab like Willis, okay. But the rest of the guys in the draft, like no one is really like, I really want to move a whole lot for. So for me, they're probably not going to be that good this year anyway. So for me, it's more about the lines of either moving up and getting your guy this year or establishing a lot of players around them. The Chargers taking Trevor Penning. I know there are some Chargers fans out there that would like to see them draft a tackle. Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington, going there to the Eagles. Like that pick. Chris Olave, I think, would be a good fit. We've talked about him in New Orleans. Devontae Wyatt going here to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I know some Pittsburgh fans have said, well, we really worked on our offensive line, but I don't think your offensive line is going to be nearly as good as you think it's going to be. So defensive line, if you're going to go on the line, I'd rather have you go on the other side. Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah to the Patriots. George Karlaftis to Green Bay. Jameson Williams to the Arizona Cardinals is a unique pick. The guy coming off the ACL, is he going to be ready to go? Do you really, spend the time drafting another wide receiver weapon when you've got Rondale Moore and you still have got DeAndre Hopkins and you re-sign Zach Ertz and you got James Conner? For me personally, I think they need to pressure the quarterback a little bit more. Zion Johnson, Breece Hall, halfback to Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo for me, if they were to take a running back in the first round, I don't think that does a whole lot of good for them. I understand the pick, and I think Breece Hall's best fit is actually the Buffalo Bills. I would just rather see them try to take a different running back a little bit later if Breece Hall does not go that far. Nakobe Dean, David Ajobu going over to Tampa Bay, even with that Achilles injury. Ajobu going to Tampa Bay there. Jahan Dotson, we know Green Bay needs a wide receiver. Traylon Burks, Kansas City needs a wide receiver. Going with Boye Mafe on the edge there for Kansas City out of Minnesota. These last two picks, this is where things kind of get me a little bit, TJ. Linderbaum to Cincinnati and Tyler Smith to the Detroit Lions. The Bengals don't really need to take a center. They spent money on their offensive line this year. They brought in some guys, and they really retooled the offensive line to a point that it is going to be much stronger. They really need to do something on the defensive side of the ball. The offense is going to be great. The defensive side of the ball is where they need to now turn their focus to. And for the Detroit Lions, they may have one of the better offensive lines in football if everybody stays healthy. They have some very, very good players there that can really protect the quarterback, help open up the run. So to use your final first round pick on a tackle here, to me, it feels like a little bit of waste of draft capital when you have so much that you still need to do on the defensive side of the ball. So what kind of a grade are we going to give TJ? Well, we're going to give TJ 3 swags. And what does 3 swags mean? Well, it means, what were you thinking on a couple picks? You had some good picks. What were you thinking on a couple of other picks? Swag there, giving the look to TJ like you got off to a good start. Then I think you kind of got away with it, TJ. You got away with a couple of things there. Let's reel it back in. So I'm going to give him 3 swags there. Not bad. Think it could have been a little bit better. Let's move on to James Dennison. James here sent me 3 screenshots. We're going to go with Thibodeau at number 1 overall to Jacksonville. Makes sense. Hutchinson at 2. Evan Neal at 3 to Houston. Garrett Wilson at 4 to the Jets is interesting. I don't hate it. Same thing that TJ did. So maybe it's not the same type of question mark. But again, like if you're going right here with Garrett Wilson and you've still got Akeem Ekwonu on the board at number 5, to me, that's a whole lot of, wait a second, we need to do some different things to protect Zach Wilson. We don't really need another wide receiver right now. Still got some decent offensive weapons there. Akeem Ekwonu falling to the Giants. Charles Cross going here to Carolina. This is where I would say now, if Carolina gets right here, if Carolina were to get right here, then for Carolina, I do like them taking Malik Willis. Zion Johnson to the Giants. So they really retool. James really has them retooling their offensive line here. Jameson Williams to Atlanta. We're on the same page about the wide receiver. Sauce Gardner to Seattle, like that. Kyle Hamilton to the Jets. Love that. Trim McDuffie to Washington. Interesting there. Washington has a few different needs. I don't think out of the question would be a cornerback. Stingley to Minnesota makes sense. Houston taking Trayvon Walker after they got Evan Neal earlier as a big win for them. Baltimore going on the edge with Jermaine Johnson. Philadelphia with Drake London. Olave to New Orleans. Now, I like these picks with New Orleans a lot better. Trevor Penning going to the Chargers there. Davis to Philadelphia afterwards. Wyatt going to New Orleans there at pick number 19. Then Malik Willis falling all the way down to Pittsburgh. Here, I like him kind of playing out that scenario because I don't think there's enough people playing out that scenario to go all the way through it. Green Bay, Traylon Burks, they're going to need a wide receiver. We already know that. Arizona going cornerback to work on that defense. George Karlaftis going to Minnesota. A little bit of a trade there. It looks like what we have James doing there. So I like that he's including trades. He's getting outside the box, and he's thinking a little bit about a different scenario here where some of these offensive tackles go a little bit quicker on the board than maybe what some people expect. All right. And then we see a little bit of a trade here. Buffalo going with linebacker Devin Lloyd. Matt Carroll here going to Tennessee is also an interesting one. Bringing him up into the first round. Kenyon Green, guard, going to Tampa Bay. Jahan Dotson going to Green Bay. 2 wide receivers going there. They need it. Tyler Smith out of Tulsa to work on the offensive line in Kansas City. Daxton Hill, love that pick there. We get down here, Tyler Linderbaum to Cincinnati again. Another one where I'm like, I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like it that much. I don't know if I like that one because, again, I don't think they need to work on the offensive line. And then he goes with Kenny Pickett to Detroit at the end of the first round. So what do I see here? Well, I just mentioned it. I'm going to actually applaud James here for trying to do something a little bit unique, and that say, hey, I think some of these offensive linemen are going to come off the board a lot quicker than what a lot of people think. So for me personally, I'm going to be giving him 4 swags. And those 4 swags, well, that's a strong one. So we're flexing the muscle there a little bit. We're flexing the muscle there a little bit with those swags because I like what James does there to kind of get outside the box, think outside the box with that trade, with all of the tackles and guards going early, and then kind of seeing how things filter in after that. Flex those muscles, swag. Flex them! CJ. Now, here's the thing about CJ, and I'm just going to let you all know right now. Yes, I realize that if you're looking at this, it does not include the trade that Philadelphia and New Orleans had a couple weeks ago. Now, the original one that CJ sent me had this in there. And I didn't request another one from him because I'd planned on using it anyway, because I would really like to roast CJ, all right? CJ, he can handle it. I know he can handle it. CJ hung out with us last year at the Fantasy Football Expo. Came all the way out there to get the 1-of-1 Trevor Lawrence that I pulled for him over on the Breaks channel, Headliner Breaks. Check it out if you like sports trading cards. So I'm going to roast CJ a little bit. So I had to keep it in here, knowing that even though it wouldn't be 100% correct. So we go Evan Neal, number 1. Gotcha. Aiden Hutchinson, number 2. CJ, Malik Willis at number 3. My man, what are you doing? What are you doing right now? Okay. Malik Willis, yeah, Houston might be looking for a quarterback, but they already have committed to really giving Davis Mills the keys this year. And the reason that drafting a quarterback right now doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me is, number 1, you have a lot of needs, especially on the offensive and defensive line. And you have Thibodeau still available there, and you have other guys still available as well. For me, Malik Willis to Houston just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if Houston really didn't believe in Davis Mills, I'm pretty sure what they would have done is they would have gotten Baker Mayfield back in that trade with the Cleveland Browns. Thibodeau falling to the Jets, Gardner going to the Giants, Pickett going to Carolina. Now, here's another issue that I have here too. Kenny Pickett going to Carolina, but Ikem Ekwonu falling all the way to the 11th pick. If Ikem Ekwonu is there, Carolina is drafting Ikem Ekwonu. They are not going to let that number 2 tackle for most people go by them. The Jets using the number 7 pick on Kyle Hamilton. Atlanta going Garrett Wilson. Trayvon Walker to Seattle at 9. Jordan Davis to the Jets at 10. Ekwonu goes to Washington at number 11. And then we got Jermaine Johnson and we got Charles Cross. Again, with Houston here going Charles Cross, they're kind of forced to take a lower tier, or not a lower tier tackle, but a second tier tackle in this class when they could have easily had Ikem Ekwonu all the way up at number 3. Jameson Williams to Baltimore. I don't love this one either, CJ. You just used a pick last year on Bateman. You have Marquise Brown still. You have the big guy at tight end, Mark Andrews. You've got some good pass catching backs. I just don't see Jameson Williams really being a need here for Baltimore. Devin Lloyd to Philadelphia here. Number 16 would end up being, so these again, all right? These are not going to be exactly the same. I do see what CJ was trying to do with Philadelphia, doing a lot of defense. Probably still, if you saw my mock drafts, I had him going at least 1 wide receiver in this area. Matt Carroll going at number 18 to New Orleans out of Ole Miss. Not a big fan of that pick because, again, kind of like I talked about in the other one, I don't love that New Orleans would take one of these second-tier quarterbacks instead of moving up to just take a guy like Malik Willis and let him sit behind Jameis Winston for a year. Trent McDuffie going to Pittsburgh at number 20. Drake London to New England. The problem with doing another wide receiver to New England is they already have a lot of pass-catching options, and they really need to get somebody to fill in at cornerback, considering they've lost 2 of their top cornerbacks over the last 2 years. Traylon Burks from Ottawa, Arkansas, going to Green Bay. Andrew Booth to Arizona. Daxton Hill to Dallas. I do like that pick, CJ. I've been roasting you a little bit, but I do like that pick. Buffalo taking center Tyler Linderbaum, not a big fan of that either. I think they could do some different things there to really help out the team a little bit more. Chris Olave to Tennessee, I don't really mind them taking a wide receiver either. Roger McCreary, cornerback out of Auburn, going to Tampa Bay. Jahan Dotson to Green Bay there. So Green Bay taking 2 wide receivers. And that fourth picture is a little bit off there. Devontae Wyatt, going to Kansas City along with Boye Mafe out of Minnesota. So 2 defensive linemen there for Kansas City. Not a big fan of 2 defensive linemen. I think they need to move a couple of things around. I do think they need to potentially try and make a move to get one of the top wide receivers in this draft. And then again, we get to the I don't get the love for the guards and the centers for the Cincinnati Bengals at 31. They don't need it anymore. I'd rather have them see him work on that defense. And then Desmond Ridder to Detroit. For me, if Detroit is going to take a risk on a quarterback, it's not Desmond Ridder. It is Malik Willis. And if you want to take a risk on Desmond Ridder, that's fine. But you do it in the second round. You do not do it at the end of the first round. Okay? We're not taking risks there. Desmond Ridder is going to be a project just like Malik Willis. He is going to take some time. He is going to need to develop in the league. So if you're going to do that anyway, you might as well go with Malik Willis, who would be there at number 2 for you. So CJ, again, I know CJ can take it. I know he can. So he'll be just fine. He's not going to get upset or cry or anything. But CJ, I can only give you 2. I can only give you 2 swags just because I didn't love it. There was a lot of questions that at the very end had me going, CJ, what exactly were you doing there? What exactly did you think was going to happen when you sent me this mock draft, CJ? Again, I know he can handle it, so I'm going to make a little bit of fun of him. But, hey, a fun video to kind of interact with the community a little bit and do some more NFL draft talk and just kind of let you all see what some other people are thinking. But like we talk about all the time, especially with the mock drafts, had a little fun with the guys today here on the channel. But, you can't forget that everyone's going to think a little bit differently. And what these mock drafts are all about is just playing out different scenarios. And that's what these 3 guys did. So, yes, I harped on a couple of them a little bit, but that's okay. They can take it. In the end, I appreciate them even taking a shot to send me these, knowing that I was going to be putting them on the channel. And more than likely, a lot of you out there that, like to be trolls and things of that nature are going to be far worse to them than I ever was. So don't be harsh on these guys, all right? You actually should say to them, hey, thanks for sending in a mock draft. So everyone give them a little round of applause or a thank you in the comments for sending in their mocks so I could mock them a little bit. But if you're new here, do hit that subscribe button for us. Hit the like button on the video if you appreciate the content. And again, leave a comment down below thanking the guys and letting me know something that you're looking for in this year's mock draft. Who is the one guy that if your team could draft, you would be all over him? I'm going to get out of here, though. All of you stay safe and healthy, and I will catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on 3rd down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that chub life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.